Hi, this is Kyle Bondo.
And this is Timothy Chemo Brien.
And you're listening to PodRec, the podcast that helps you survive your podcast. And we are in the middle of the Podfest Global Summit Guinness World Record attempt. And we're going to tell you what we learned so far. Thank you so much for joining us for this special edition of PodRec, where Tim and I are deep inside, deep behind the scenes, virtually in the matrix of what is hopefully going to be a Guinness World Record for the largest virtual podcasting conference ever. And of course, that is Chris Krimitsos' brainchild Podfest Global Summit. And it's been nonstop. Because it started a week ago. It started back on like August 3rd. And there's been this pre-conference build-up. And then this week, which I think on August 10th it kicked off. And now it's an entire week of even more content with the finale, the masterclass finale happening on Friday and Saturday, which is the 14th and 15th. In which, of course, we end the entire conference on the greatest note ever. And that is, I get to speak for 5 minutes. It's going to be awesome. I hope you can join me, Tim, for my case study on my audio drama experiment. Yes, I get to be 5 minutes at 1:40 p.m. on Saturday. It's the fourth to last. I'm calling it my mini keynote because I think it's a mini keynote. It's 5 minutes of the most awesome material you will ever get. Your brains will explode with how much audio drama knowledge I'll partake on you in just 5 minutes. And it'll be a lot of fun. But that is kind of the scope of stuff. But Tim, you and I have been in this for a week and a half now. And okay, here's the very obvious question I want to ask it right off the gate. Did you learn anything?
Dude, if you haven't learned something, then I don't know what is happening to you, because my brain is like all over my man cave, my studio, and my office here.
I totally agree.
It's immense. I can't believe that we've been doing it for a week and a half now, because this feels like we've been doing it for a month. And with all the interactions that you're having with people from all across the country, it's not just on the East Coast here. It's people I have to keep on. You know what the thing I had to learn, the big thing I had to learn, Kyle, is this. Be mindful of your time zones. Be mindful of your time zones. Because if you're saying, because you and I live on the East Coast here, so we're used to saying, 9 o'clock we'll meet up and da-da-da-da-da. But that's 8 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Mountain, 6 o'clock Pacific. And then you got to think about across the pond in the UK. So one thing that we do, Kyle, you need to do this very soon, though, is meet up for coffee at 8 a.m. Central. I'm sorry, 8 a.m. Eastern. And there, it's like 8 o'clock at night there. And time zones. Learn your time zones. Don't be so U.S.-centric, because guess what? There are other people across the world listening to your podcast. And I already know that a lot of the people that we've run into that are not from the United States in this Global Podfest Summit are listening to PodRec. And I want to welcome them and say, hey, welcome aboard. We're going to help you not mess up your show. You're going to survive your podcast by listening to our show. But that's a big thing, is don't necessarily think that you're the center of the world, because you're not. Your listener is the center of the world.
And that's the whole point about all that, is the global part. The global part is the key thing there, of how many people have tuned in. And if you even think about where these people are coming from, it spans. It's so epic on the kind of, I can't imagine how many people, I can't count how many people I've met virtually. Just like we were just talking in the before the pre-show, is I'm having daily conversations with people I'd never met at any of the live conferences. A few that I have. There's a lot of my, of course, friends and stuff I've made in hallways and different talks, and I've I've gone to these conferences enough times where I've started to meet a lot of the same folks over and over again. So we build rapport. We keep the rapport going throughout the entire year. It's kind of like we all work isolated in our own little worlds, and then we go to it's like people all come. They're like, it's like friends from work. It's like all your podcast friends that you all and you share ideas with and stuff like that. You all come to work at the same spot, and that is what a conference is. Well, online you're having the same type of experience. So I've never met Andy Wang. Andy Wang is all over the place in the forums and all over the place. I've never met him in real life, but I've had a conversation with him every single day for 2 weeks. And it's a conversation I never would have had because I don't think I've ever would have crossed paths with him because he lives, he does a whole different kind of podcast. He goes a whole different direction. Some of the other people that I've met, like the other day we had a meetup online. This is the cool thing about this conference, using something called Whova. This is WHOVA, and Whova or Whova.com is kind of a community application where you can create meetups, you can post forums, you can post topics, and have these virtual forum conversations and talk to speakers and ask them questions before they even have their talk. Their talks are up there. You can ask them pre-questions. You can ask them post-questions. The speakers are there. Everyone who's in the podcasting world is there. We're approaching the Guinness World Record, which is almost 5,000 people who have been in these conferences. There's all these people. The other day, Tim and I went to a meetup. And it was a meetup that had a topic, but when we all dialed in, we just started talking about everything else that was going on, which is kind of cool. And that's where we got to meet people like Meg Glessner from Seattle who dialed in and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like we're meeting this new person with all her new stuff. And then Michael Cross shows up, his 35 years in radio doing his gardening show. Here he brings this intense amount of experience. He shows up into the talk. And then you have, it's amazing the people you're going to meet because, what was it? And then Jody showed up from Toronto, Jody Krangle, who does voice branding. She showed up in the conversation, and the conversation just took these turns and ebbs and flows of everyone's experience. And I got to learn stuff that I never would have got to learn about. It all have to do with audio branding. And we had a really in-depth conversation about ASMR, which is something that I knew it was a thing, but I didn't know it was a thing, right? So it was these type of conversations I've had over the past week. It's like being in the hallway, only I don't get distracted by someone coming up and saying hi, or it's time to go eat, or the next track is beginning. I got to see you later. I'm having these hallway conversations while a track is going on, while I'm eating. Which is kind of the nice thing about being virtual is, while I'm in Facebook, while I'm on Instagram, while I'm also doing work. I mean, I'm being multitasking like crazy. It's just amazing what you can get done virtually. It sucks that you can't be there in person. I get that. But I tell you, I almost like the virtual better. I'm kind of torn. I like the in-person. Don't get me wrong. The social interaction with, seeing someone in their face, the virtual doesn't quite cut it, but wow, am I having, I don't know. Maybe you can explain this, Tim. Use some of your poetry. Explain this feeling I'm having. What is it? Is it awe? Is it, what is it?
Kyle needs a big hug. Kyle really needs a big hug there. But what you're feeling there, Kyle, is you are a people person. You are a introverted extrovert. And you're missing that human touch. You're missing that part of it. However, you are getting so many interactions with people that you would never probably have the opportunity to meet in a live event. There's no way you could make all of these connections because it's 24/7. Now, when you go to a convention, usually, hey, I'm going to, go to bed at a reasonable hour, midnight, 1 o'clock, 2, whatever. And, some people are, getting their drink on and all that kind of good stuff, or, getting their wacky tobacco going on. Not that I'm, supporting that, but one of the sponsors of the show is a CBP distillery, I guess they're called. If you want to get involved in that kind of stuff, but you're not dealing with people's social hangups. You're dealing with people as real as they can be, because when people are attending this, I know me, I'm attending in shorts and a t-shirt because it's hot here in Virginia, because it's summertime, and as well it should be. But you're dealing with everybody in their pajamas, their shorts, their robes. They're staying dressed. Thankfully, most people are staying dressed. I know I am. But that's the connection that you're getting. You're getting all that connection. I don't want to say when people are at their most vulnerable, because I don't think there's anybody that vulnerable there. But I do have to say that I did have a great coffee talk with Tiffany, and she was talking about some very personal things with like 3 other people in the room there. And it was very touching. And it was, I don't know if she would have done that in person, but she has the safety of going, you know what, I'm feeling a little bit too vulnerable. I'm going to turn off the computer and there we go. And I'm out of the room. You can hop in, you can hop out however you want. That reduces a lot of people's stress, and it's not rude to do that. You just hop into a conversation, you hop out of it, all good. But a lot of the barriers, a lot of the hangups that people are having when they're meeting in person, it's all washed away with virtual, because you're in control, and that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing to have, and that's what you're feeling there, Kyle. And I'll be charging you $85 for that in the next
85, like 285. That was pure therapy right there. I feel like this warm feeling going over my body. What is this? I think it's love. I love you, Tim. Yes, there you go. Look at that. I feel so much better now. Thank you.
Well, if that's what you're feeling, Kyle, go with that feeling, and I am fond of you as well.
Break my heart.
I love you, Kyle.
Well, here's the cool thing. Before we take a deep dive into the fire hose that has been information being shot into my head, because that's really, I said, did we learn anything? It's like I was being tongue in cheek there, because I've learned so much that I think I have on my whole desk has been taken over by sticky notes of all the things that I've learned that I probably will. I won't be able to do most of these things because, I have to prioritize. There's not enough time in the day to do some of these things. But right now, if you're hearing, I'm going to have this up I'm going to have this up either tomorrow or Friday. So probably Friday, which is the second to last day of the conference. There are still tickets. If you want to go to podfestexpo.com and join the Guinness World Records title for the largest attendance of a virtual podcasting conference in 1 week, you can be part of that. You can say that I was part of a Guinness World Records, and that's where you go, is podfestexpo.com. We're not affiliates, we're just fans. Chris Krimitsos is an amazing guy. His conference is really cool. There's so much knowledge there. Plus, on top of that, if you buy a ticket and you missed half the conference, no worries. If you get the ticket, you get the recordings, and then you can go back and review all this stuff at your leisure, which is kind of nice. But be in it for now, because right now they're close, super close. I think they need 5,000 people. I heard this morning they had just broke 4,000 and some change, so it's getting there. And I think by tomorrow, Thursday, it'll be even closer. So that's our little promo for the Podfest Global Summit. And again, go to podfestexpo.com or .com. That'll get you there. There's right at the top. There's the get your tickets. Go there. Should be okay. Now, to the best part of this conference is the massive amount of information shoved into my brain. Now, here's the problem with Tim and I, is that as experienced podcasters, sometimes we have a hard time finding the nuggets, because a lot of the stuff is geared towards people who either didn't have a podcast before or are trying to super monetize or create their own business, or they're pimping a product or something like that. And that's not really our game. We're looking for what can we take out of this to help our show better, or to make other shows that we're producing better. And that's the places where we usually find the most value. And usually when I'm at a conference, that's in the hallway for me. It's a couple tracks. I usually get a couple tracks that are really, really key. or some new speakers I've never heard before that are really, they approach the subject in a way I never heard before. But the hallway conferences are where it's key. And some of the hallway conferences have been these small little meetups, almost like almost like an unconference in a way, which is kind of cool. But the amount of knowledge in some of these speakers for this conference has been really good. There's been a lot of, some of the stuff that I never really would have thought of has been really, I don't know, exponentially better than the in-person conference. And I was really kind of surprised. And maybe that's because I don't have to move around from room to room. I don't have to get up and wait for them to change out, make sure their computer, it's like there's the presentation. And then here comes the next one. Here comes the next one. I can get like 3 in 1 hour and just be like, oh, wow, amazing. I was just in the audio drama one, and it was just like that. It was how to deal with actors. And then it was a whole conference or a whole class on how actors can deal with directors. And there was another one completely talking about dialogue editing and sound design. I didn't know dialogue editing and sound design were 2 different things. Guess what? They are. There's someone who actually goes through and corrects all the dialogue, and there's someone else who goes in and adds all the sound effects to that dialogue. Well, those can be 2 different people. Did not know that. The clap sync. Have you ever heard of the clap sync? That's another interesting one where everyone claps at the same time. That way, when you get all this divergent audio from all your remote people, you line it all up with the clap, and then you get this in sync audio. You don't have to edit as much. These neat little tricks. So those are some of my, just the ones off the top of my head. Tim, what's some of the ones that you've picked up with this? What? Yeah, it's been like 2 months of conference. It's got to be the quarantine effect, I swear.
It is definitely the quarantine effect. Well, I just came from, literally right before we started recording, I just came from the editors con. This conference has different cons in it, different mini cons in it. And I just got done listening to Chris Curran talking about adding plugins for it and doing the chain plugins. And then he obviously let us know about his website and gave his top 10 stuff. Right before him, there was a person from the Philippines talking that a professional editor who graduated from the podcast engineering school, who was talking about setting up systems and setting up SOPs, for how to edit your podcast, what you need to do first, what you need to do second and third. And something that, he brought up was a couple of programs that helped him out. Now, he's mainly dealing with clients. So clients want to know, hey, where everything is at. But I could see for myself, because, I do 3 podcasts. I do this one and then my 2 other ones. I can see spending little time trying to organize everything and more time doing the stuff. One of his main takeaway points was that you should do the least amount that has the most effect. The least amount that has the most effect. And then all your other tasks, delegate it to somebody else. Now, we're a 2-man operation over here at Podrect. And for our separate podcasts that we do, then we're a 1-man operation, unless we're dealing with Kyle and his pause for dramatic effect.
That's right. It's almost like a guest appearance for that one.
Well, we don't talk about it enough on this show, but yes. Now, they were talking about the new stuff that's coming out for Libsyn. There's a Libsyn 5. They're calling it Libsyn 5 that's coming out with a lot of cool things in there. I'm not going to give anything away here on this show. I'm not going to but just there's a new interface. So when when you log into Libsyn, it's going to look different. That's been one of the biggest complaints since I've started using Libsyn many, many moons ago, because Kyle told me to. It was not very intuitive for me as the interface that they had there. But now they're changing all of that, and they're getting rid of some stuff that you just don't need, and they're putting stuff in there that you do need. And the conversations that we're having there, these folks that run Libsyn were interested in their users. Now, they gave us a little, one of those little bit.ly links they said, here, we're going to give you some stickers. And then they have a beta test coming out. And they gave us the link for that if we wanted to be part of their beta test for this Libsyn 5 stuff. And, before they gave us all that information, the first thing they asked us was, what's your podcast? And what do you talk about? And I had Hall of Fame Dave Jackson right there going, well, hey, I've got Create Art Podcast because it used to be KDOI Podcasting and Dave hated the name, so I changed it. And Dave, put his in it. And I'm like, Dave, you owe me $100 because I'm also on Podrect. And I mentioned your name 10 times a show. Where's my microphone? And, we got to talking about the swags and all that kind of stuff. And it was a great time. Dave was cracking up. He was having a good time with it. But we were talking about one of the swag items. And one of the swag items they're thinking about is a chocolate microphone. And I said, well, are you going to have the really good chocolate Heil PR40, with the really good chocolate, and then the really crappy chocolate with the Blue Yeti microphone? Are you going to have different microphones on there with, Libsyn on there?
That you get like the discount Easter Bunny chocolate, the stuff that tastes like
Exactly. And it showed me that, Libsyn is really interested, at least, the folks that I talked to are really interested in what the customer wants. And they are listening. They know their front face interface really is not intuitive. So they're fixing it. After all these years, they're finally fixing it and making it nice. So good for you, Libsyn. And that'll be $100, Dave.
Absolutely. Yeah. But he's moving. So this is Dave's moving month. So all references to Dave Jackson, the School of Podcasting is our present to him, because the moving expenses, and we know moving is tough, and so he's having a tough time moving his location. So guess what, Dave? It's on the house. It's on the house this time for Dave's moving expenses. That's what we're going to call that. So every time we say Dave Jackson, other people should send him. And in fact, if you have a podcast and you haven't launched it yet, or you're having trouble launching it, you need to go to School of Podcasting. So definitely go there. Again, we're not affiliates. We're just fans. So if you have a hard time and you need that help, that's the kind of guy that you need to call. Now, I have a secret. Well, about your reveal about the Libsyn beta. There is one spoiler alert I want to give away, and it's because, again, on the Whova application for the Podfest Global Summit, I got into a conversation with Elsie Escobar, who was from The Feed, which is Libsyn's official podcast. Her and Rob Walsh do that. And in that conversation, she said that keywords were no longer required. In fact, they may never have been something of any kind of value whatsoever inside the Libsyn application. And I made the comment, I was like, well, I've been doing them since 2016. So where's my t-shirt? Extra large, please. And instead, I got an invite to the beta. So I think that's a pretty good consolation prize. So, so $100, Elsie and Rob, for The Feed. I think that's a pretty cool thing. So yeah, again, I did not know. I've been doing keywords inside my podcast posts forever and a day. It turns out that's going bye-bye, which is, I think it's kind of cool that's going bye-bye, because I guess, all the technology's gotten better. That was just some leftover legacy piece. So that's just one of the things that's going away in Libsyn 5. So stay tuned, because when it comes out, we'll tell you all about it. So anyway, what were you going to say, Tim?
Well, I was going to bring you back to something that you were talking about earlier, is that, you got your beginning podcasters that are on this conference. A lot of the classes are aimed at beginning podcaster, or the Uber, oh my God, monetize everything in, let's sell everything to everybody, podcaster, which there's nothing wrong with either one of those ends. That's perfectly fine. A lot of you are like us. We're kind of somewhere in the middle of all that good stuff. Maybe we lean more towards the, hey, I'm not going to monetize, or we lean towards the, hey, I want to sell a few t-shirts and I want to pay for my hosting in my website. And that's perfectly fine. The thing that I like about doing that stuff is I also attended from zero to launch. I attended those classes, which were really good because it reminded me of stuff that I knew, but I hadn't been practicing. And it was kind of a good tap on the shoulder and say, hey, Tim, You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to be mindful of these things. You need to be mindful of that thing. So I'm sitting up a little bit straighter. My water is a little bit warmer, and yeah. Sit up straight, Kyle. Very good. There you go.
Back the back a little bit. Okay. All right. I missed.
You're in perfect podcasting form.
Well, I learned in the audio drama thing that if you want to make voices, you get all bent over and creepy, or you move your mouth around and you make really weird sounds, or you get all very up and formal. And now I'm really tall and I can sound like I'm Abraham Lincoln.
So, folks, basically, what we're trying to say is get on over to the Global Podfest Summit and get your education on. Now, Kyle, I went ahead and I went ahead and got the VIP, which is a little bit more expensive than the regular ticket, and obviously way more expensive than the free ticket, but not as expensive as the inner circle tickets. The thing of it is that you are investing in yourself. You're investing in your podcast. And this is one of the things that we had a really good coffee talk conversation on, about doing the investing in your podcast, not only in your podcast, but taking other classes outside of your podcast. Taking classes in public speaking, going to Toastmasters and doing that kind of stuff. Taking classes on, Microsoft Office to better prepare yourself, to better organize yourself. Taking classes in marketing and stuff like that. It's an investment in yourself and in your podcast, and your audience deserves that. And that's one thing that Kyle and I have done. We didn't have to go to this. I mean, yeah, we're seeing our friends and all that kind of good stuff. We didn't have to go to this, but we knew that it was an important enough investment for us as podcasters, and more importantly for you, because we want to put out the best podcast that we can with the most consistency, with the best audio, with the best content for you. That's why you go to these things. That's why you spend the money. I got the VIP thing because I've got the videos, and I want to be able to watch the videos next week and the week after and kind of think about it and go, oh, I wish I would have asked this question. Oh, here's the guy's website address or email address. I can go ask him that way.
And that's fantastic points, because that's exactly what this is all about, is that investing in yourself. If you take podcasting seriously, this is the kind of thing you have to do. You have to go to these conferences because it will up your game. It will punch you in the face. It will make you groan. It'll make you cry. It'll make you laugh. It's one of those kind of places where you can, if you, just like a college class, you get what you pay for. If you go into this knowing that you want to do podcasting professionally, monetized, hobby, doesn't matter. The level of effort you want to put into it, this place will give you it all. Not only give you it all, these people are all super approachable. Tim and I are super approachable. We had a podcast meetup the other day, and the title of it was Tim and Kyle, Ask Us Anything. That's it. It was just show up and ask us questions, and people did, and we answered it. There was no money that changed hands. There was no special handshake. You didn't have to be part of a club. There was no exclusivity. It was just show up and ask a question. And this is the kind of stuff that we've been doing all week, just inside this Woofa app, with just people would ask questions like, I don't understand this. And we're like, hey, this is the answer. They're like, really? Oh my God, I can't believe I just got the answer. That's why this it's a community. And it's a community. Podcasting is this community that you have every walk of life you can think of. Every walk of life. There is no real exclusion here. It's every walk of life. You can see cowboy, weightlifter, lesbian, all together in one room, all having a conversation about podcasting, and they're all socializing in that way that it makes them friends. And you make friends from other walks of life that improves your life, because now you could experience it through their eyes. They help you enrich your life by becoming your friends, because podcasting is your common ground, and it's really kind of cool. And this is the only community that I've ever been in that's been like this. I've been in a lot of different communities. They are incredibly exclusionary. Case in point, road bikers. They hate everybody. They hate other road bikers. But podcasters, they love everybody. For the most part, it's a really good and open environment that most of these people will tell you everything you want to know. And you almost feel guilty. You almost feel like you're taking advantage of them. It's like, can I ask you one more question? It's like, It's like you feel like you want to buy them up. You need to buy them like not just a cup of coffee, but like a whole roastery. It's like, here's coffee for a year. Oh my gosh, you gave me so much knowledge. And that's the way this is. Because the thing about this conference and the way that these people behave is they were where you were once. They once had 0 downloads and 0 podcasts and didn't know how to start and were worried about what to buy or how to behave or how to talk. They didn't know any of those things. And they were where you were and asked those questions of the other generation of people that were there. And they had to learn some of these people the hard way because there was no giant community of people to ask those questions to. And now there is. And a lot of these people remember where they came from, which is a very important thing and an attitude that some of these people have, which they remember where they came from and they give back. And it's got nothing to do with where you come from, any of the other things that would be considered, you're different than this person, or your topic is not what I'm interested in, or your skill level is not where I'm at, or, you don't make enough money. None of that matters because they remember where they were. They were at 0. And no one would answer their questions. So they give back, and they give back so much that it's amazing. I swear to you that this is the kind of place that if you don't have a podcast by the time it's over, then you didn't want to podcast. It's all about the execution. You have every tool at your disposal, every experience level, every bit of knowledge you need to launch something. And the only thing left is for you to execute, to you to go, to do, to be the action. That's all you have. That's all that's left is your motivation to actually get it done. You'll have no other impediments whatsoever. It'll just be you and the knowledge you gain from this and your time to either do or do not. Because after you're done with this, there is no try. You'll have everything you need.
That is Yoda-Kyle right there. Yoda-Kyle. That's going to be our new segment, the Yoda-Kyle. So, Kyle, we haven't done this in a while, but one thing I'd like to bring up is a prediction.
Oh.
So,
prediction music. Oh, it's been so long. Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, it's angelic. Oh, there we go. All right, Tim.
All right, so here's I'm gonna give you POD-stradamus. The great. I've got the beard for it. Take a picture. I've got the beard for
it. There it is.
All right. So here's my 2 predictions. Prediction number 1, and I'm not jinxing us, but we are going to break that record. We're going to hit that 5,000. I really believe that because we are so close right now. I saw the last thing on it. It was 82% there. We can do it. Prediction number 2. I predict that most of these conferences are going to see the money that can be made, because conferences do have to make money in order to keep on going. That we live in a system like that. But we're going to see these conferences utilize this model much more, because it is a successful model. Because then you can get more people. Because think about this, Kyle. All right, so you went down to Orlando in March, and you had to get a hotel room, which was not cheap, and you had to get your butt down there. Now, I mean, we're up here in Virginia. You had to drive. Some people fly and then they rent a car. Yeah. So if you're driving, that takes time. Time is money. If you're flying, that takes time, and time is money. And then you got to go rent a car, and on top of getting a hotel room. I think you're going to find a lot of these conferences are going to have a good chunk be virtual like this. If they're smart, a lot of it's going to be virtual, because then you can get more people to attend the conference and to have the community. Because I know Krimitsos is going to get a lot of comments, including mine, that says, hey, listen, if this is the way if you do this for next year, I'll buy my ticket now, and I will buy, the VIP. I will buy a higher level ticket, so that way I can, do the. I've talked to my wife, and I said, hey, listen, I would like to do this live, but for the rest of the conferences, they're going to be virtual, and not 100% virtual, but a lot of them are going to have a bigger virtual footprint, bigger than we've ever seen. And I'm not saying that it's not going to be a live event next year, but I'm saying it's going to be at least half virtual for folks like me that want to stay at home. And then the other half will be live. But you'll make more, in my opinion, you'll make more money keeping it virtual.
And I think that is a profound prediction that we've already seen the influence of this, because Joe Pardo is going to have the In My Backyard virtual, the 50 people in his backyard. He's pulled that. There is a strong possibility that DC Podfest, although it was going to be online, may not even happen because of the amount of strangeness in the economy and the way people's lives have all been disrupted because of this. So there is a lot of podcast movement, which was going to be in Dallas in August, got moved to October, and now that might be virtual. There might actually not actually be a live podcast movement. So we're already seeing the shift. And I know Chris is going, he's swinging for the cheap seats. He's swinging for the fences. He's going to knock this ball out of the park as the most biggest, giantest podcast conference there is. But we have to kind of, tip the hat a little bit to our buddy Super Joe Pardo, because Super Joe Pardo kind of blazed the trail that this was a possible avenue for podcasting conference that could happen. He did what? Was it? I know I was in 3 of them, but I think he's done 5. I listened to his talk earlier in the last week, talking about virtual conferences. It was one of the talks he gave about his entire experience with doing virtual conferences, and a lot of people, although didn't really come out of the woodwork, were lurking and watching. Was Joe going to make any money on this? How was it going to work? How did sponsors work? How did speakers work? Was it something that even people wanted to do? And turned out to not be that bad, even though Joe said he didn't make a whole lot of money on it because it wasn't really the point. He just wanted to, get some people together. Been trapped in his house for weeks. He wanted to get this kind of rolling again, to get people back, interested in this kind of thing. And he turned out that it worked.
Exactly.
And so there is, the little tip of the hat to Joe to kind of setting the stage for podcasters. Were actually, they were very interested in this. The move to online, definitely, because both Tim and I, we have full-time jobs that went full telework, so we work 100% from the house right now until until the all clear happens. So already the industry, commercial, government, private, was already shifted to telework. In fact, I heard a town hall today with one of our executives talk about how he was totally against telework at the very beginning. He didn't think telework was real. He thought people were abusing it or cheating the system. He goes, now that he's done 6 months of telework, now he realizes he was wrong, and he even said so. And people were like, what? Yeah, it was a total change of mind, that he'd been changed, converted to understanding that remote work not only worked, he thought, or he was having the experience that it was working even better than people being in the office, something he never thought he would have seen. He didn't think that was possible. Turns out that he had to have a change of heart. He had to really change his position. So there is a ground shift taking place with in-person anything. And I come from, the off-road racing world, and where that's been what's that called? It's been an extinction level event for these big races. But even they have been shifting to this whole virtual model, where I go and do a run all by myself, but then I go and log into the software. The app that's on my phone tracks my run, and now I can share my run with everybody else, and now I can be ranked with everybody else. I can be part of the club, and there's different awards for this kind of thing. So the virtual shift is definitely happening. So I think your prediction is spot on.
I'm going to add one more to that.
Oh, does that mean double prediction music? Do we do double
this
prediction
music?
This is
double prediction music. Go ahead and play the music.
Ooh, here we go. Yes. Oh, my gosh. Oh, the sweet harmonies. Oh, Tim, you are a magician. So beautiful. All right. Prediction number 3. The prediction 1 was everything is going to go virtual. Prediction 2, that Podfest Global Summit will break the record. And now Pod-stradamus will give us prediction number 3.
As he strokes his beard lovingly. So prediction number 3, and this is something that I haven't seen, and I haven't seen all of the videos yet for Podfest, but somebody needs to address the fact that everyone's podcast consumption is changing, and how you as a podcaster need to change with that. So where before people like myself, millions of other people were listening to podcasts on their commute, in their car, on the train, on the bus, what have you, they're not doing that now. Northern Virginia, a little bit north of where we live, is the highest concentration of podcast listeners. Highest per capita podcast listeners listen to the most podcasts because our traffic is so horrible and commutes take so long around here. That's no longer the case. There's no traffic out there now. Well, the traffic that is out there is horrible because people in Virginia don't know how to drive. But that being said, that is going away now. People's consumption levels are changing. Now, how do you, as a podcaster, change your podcast to get your audience and to grab a hold of them and make it compelling, make the compelling content for them to stick with you, even though they're not listening to you in their car anymore, even though they're not listening to you on the train anymore. Maybe that's a Podwrecked episode coming up, but nobody has addressed that at Podfest. I think that one of the 2 smart gentlemen that you're listening to right now may have a talk on that in the next Podfest.
It could be. And here's an interesting thing is that you're right about consumption, because being in the car, I'm a driver. You're the train guy, but I'm the drive guy. I listen to a ton on my commute there, my commute home, and even in the office when I'm doing mindless things. My habits have changed because I guess you could say I've started exercising differently. Where before I was doing a lot more mountain biking than I was in the past, ebbs and flows. I started doing something called rucking, which is where you carry a whole bunch of weight in a backpack and do walk around, because every single park around here is huge, and most of the battlefields around here are huge, and they were empty. During the quarantine and lockdown, Virginia never closed the state parks, and all the parks were empty. So it was a place you could go. I could walk my dogs and carry the weight, nice leg training, and do it for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I could get 3 or 4 podcasts in. I just put them up in my playlist on Pocket Cast and let it ride, and then just do my whole walk. And I get to listen to catch up on my shows, because I wasn't, while I was working virtually, teleworking, I wasn't listening to them here. I wasn't in the office listening to them, because when I'm focused on the telework work podcast, I have to keep pausing the podcast to, be on a conference call, and then go back to the podcast and be on a conference call. After a while, I didn't want to wear headphones anymore. And I don't want the speakers, because, the whole family's here, trapped in the house with me. So speakers is not really always an option. And then sometimes listening to the radio, because I want to know about the weather and want to know about local news and things like that, because, it's, you want to stay relevant, for as much as you can, but you got to turn that off too. So after a while, I found myself just listening to nothing. I just wanted to have like quiet, and that totally changed the way I consume. I consume in the morning when I wake up, like we call it the shower cast, the scrub a dub cast, right? I get either my flash briefings off my the Lady in the Tube, which is a stack of stuff. Usually starts with pod news, or Monday mornings I get a little, I get my Dave Jackson like you do. And it becomes like this ritual in the morning. I get up, I listen to a piece of a podcast, I come downstairs, listen to a piece of a podcast, and then I'm back to work. And then in the evening, I might finish it off, but I don't listen to the whole thing in one sitting. So that's even changed, is how much of a podcast I listen to. So 40 minutes, 60-minute podcasts are starting to get chunked up. That is a weird, you really, really haven't really thought about this. And you start thinking back, is not only has this been 6 months, it's been 6 months. That's crazy. But on top of that is all the way I used to listen to podcasts has changed, and even the types of podcasts have changed. I've completely changed out my top 5 with other podcasts because there are certain topics I don't want to listen to anymore. I'm kind of tired of listening to, the news. I'm definitely tired of listening to the news. I'm tired of listening to, a lot of other things that have to do with what do you call it? I guess the raw, build a business stuff in a world where you can't open anything, can't go anywhere. And the whole world has changed their consumption of everything. So a lot of those aren't even relevant anymore. So those feel kind of tone deaf. I've started listening, here's a confession, right? Tim, confession music. That's what we name next.
I predict we'll have confession music.
Kyle the Marvelous is going to give. We have POD-stradamus and Kyle the Marvelous. We're going to the confession music of. I've started listening to a lot more escapism style podcasts, a lot more like self help, motivational, a lot more things that make me think, a lot more like deep thought podcasts, a lot more scientific and space based stuff that are dealing with like heavy science, not like, light and fluffy science, like heavy science, and a lot of more audio dramas. I've been really kind of deep diving into people's audio dramas where they're on season 5 or 6 or 7. I've been doing that. Why? Well, because, we've watched Grey's Anatomy, the entire catalog like 3 times now. I've seen more Walking Dead that I can't watch it anymore because I had a nightmare last night about zombies that I don't want to go back to. So I think that's over. And we're starting to watch comedies that I've well, I guess I could watch this one. It's kind of funny. I'm at the bottom of the barrel. So my consumption has definitely changed because of that. I'm just tired of certain people's point of views right now. I'd probably go back, but there's a certain group of podcasters that no fault of their own. It's just I need to listen to something different. My what do you call that? You're the 5 gurus you surround yourself with. Well, I've grown. My gurus have changed. So that's where I'm at.
Excellent, Kyle. Excellent. I'm so proud of your growth. That just that warms my heart. I'll have to charge you the actual $120 then instead of the $85 that I normally charge you.
See, wait a minute. That's like the second $85 charge. So that's $170.
I'm trying to get my microphone, baby. I got to get my microphone since I can't charge Dave Jackson on this episode.
That's right. The moratorium on Dave Jackson because he's moving. But these are the kind of things. There's a lot of these sessions I've been in have caused me to have some of these revelations. There's a lot of ones where it makes you think, and a lot of these have really made me think. Not only about our own show, about consistency, about community outreach, about being honest and being authentic, and a lot of those things that they talk about. I mean, sure, the technical stuff is good, the little tweaks and stuff like that is good, but a lot of it's like the deeper stuff I'm really connecting to this time.
Good deal. Good. So, Kyle, we've had a wonderful almost 2 weeks at this conference. Give me one takeaway that Cliff would really appreciate to hear right now.
All right, Cliff, here it comes, buddy. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? There's no excuse. There's no more excuse anymore, man. You could be recording this on your phone. You can be recording this in the car, in the parking lot, at your job. You could be recording this. It doesn't even have to be long. Maybe it's 5 minutes. It doesn't even have to be a long podcast. Just get the reps in. Do something small and short. Tell me about, because we know that Cliff is into a very specific topic. Give me something small and quick that niche audience would love to hear. One tip. It's really quick, and just work it that way. Just to get the reps in. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this is every single one of these people talk about how they started with, it sucked, it didn't work, I didn't like my voice, I didn't have time, there was all these things in my way, all these obstacles, and that I overcame it, and now because of my podcast, something happened. It was magical. And it's weird because it doesn't seem like it would be magical. You're like, that's not true. That didn't really happen. That's not really something that people, those happen to other people. Not true, because Tim and I have so many of these stories already, and they're, of course, they're anecdotal and they're personal to us. But one time a listener loved our show so much, he sent us real coffee. And that was you, Cliff. You sent us real coffee, and that was amazing. And you cannot tell you enough how much that impacted us to open that box and find out that you sent us real coffee. It was like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was so epic. And it as a podcaster that created something and put it out in the world, to know that you heard it and just because you wanted to send your appreciation, you called it our podcast fuel. Cannot tell you enough what that meant. It was really, really, really impactful. And so from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for that, because I was at a point before that showed up that I was really kind of losing my grip on podcasting. My consistency's all over the place. I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to do these shows. Tim's like, what the heck's going on with you, dude? You're kind of in a dark hole. And then boom, here comes this box with coffee in it. It just told me that one person out there gave a rip, that they wanted to say thank you, and here's some fuel to keep you going. That was amazing. So Cliff, this is my what's the word, Tim, for call to action? Is this my call to action?
This is your call to action to Cliff.
Call to action, Cliff. Okay. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go and take your phone and the little recorder guy on there, and just record a tip, and just take little notes, record a tip, and then use that as your guide to recording something. And then I don't care if it's free. I don't care if it's on Anchor. Just put it out there. Just put it out somewhere out there and say, this is my tip number 1, tip number 2, and do 100 of those, 100 tips, 5 minutes or less. And I know your amount of knowledge you have about your topic, you can do 100 tips, because I've been to places where people teach what you're going to talk about. And I know that those safety briefs by themselves are an hour long. So already there's a ton of tips just in safety, but you can do safety, mechanics, engineering, competition. It just goes on and on and on. So I think just do something tiny, do something small, get yourself the reps in, because you're going to find one of two things. One, you're going to love it, and 5 minutes will never be long enough, and you're going to create a show, and you're going to find the time, you're going to make it a priority. You're going to replace the word with I can't because of this, replace that with it's not a priority. You're going to replace that with it is a priority. Or two, you're going to find that maybe not for you, and you don't want to do it anymore. Or maybe that's not the topic you want to do it on, and you're going to discover that, wow, I did this show, and now I really wanted to talk about basket weaving. Who knew? Cliff was a basket weaver. I didn't know either. Maybe he doesn't even know. Right? He's going to go, oh my gosh, I am a basket weaver. No, I'll give you a hard time, buddy. But I think that's it. There you go, Tim. How's that? How do you think that is? I think that's pretty, I think from this conference, that's what I know that Cliff needs to do, is he just needs to do it. Just do it.
And Kyle, I'm going to take it one step farther, because that's what I usually like to do with you.
Do we need one step further music?
We need a lot of music here, Kyle. You're going to make me work overtime.
And one step further music. Okay, right. Tim, take it one step further.
I'm going to take it one step further here. So we talk to Cliff a lot. We go back and forth with emails on this podcast, on my podcast, Create Art. He's listened to that one. And I think I speak for both Kyle and I, because this is going to be our special. This is our time being vulnerable. When you sent us that coffee, yes, we thank you very much. But the happiness that was on both of our faces. I actually went to Kyle's house to grab that coffee that day to go do it. Both of us, our faces were beaming. And here's the thing, Cliff. We want the same thing to happen to you. And we know it will happen to you. You will develop your listenership. You will develop a following. And your first 2 followers are the guys talking to you right now.
Absolutely.
Take a picture of us. Kyle's always doing snap, camera pictures of us while we're sitting here and talking. So take that picture, put it up in your truck, and go, I'm gonna do 5 minutes on Austrian handguns because Tim doesn't know squat about it, and I'm gonna give him 5 minutes of that. Boom, that's your avatar right there. That's your topic. Rock it out, and you got your podcast there. We want the same for you, what you gave to us. So that's what I got for you, Kyle. One step farther.
I love it. I love it. Well said. All right, Cliff, you know what you got to do, buddy. Take care.
So, folks, you just heard a ton of good information of stuff that we learned in this attempt to not only set, but break and possibly have never broken a Guinness Book of World Records before. And I want to stress this point to you, folks. Anytime that you can attend a conference like this, the information, the experience, the networking that you're going to get is invaluable. I don't care what you pay for it. It's invaluable. So set it up as a priority for yourself. Go ahead, attend these conferences, make yourself available, make yourself open, and go ahead and do it for your podcast, do it for your listeners, do it for yourself. Thanks for listening to us. As always, podrect@gmail.com is how you get a hold of us. Get on over to our website, podrect.com. And hey, be part of that salvage team. It's an excellent team to be a part of. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time. Tonight. Oh, gonna make it right. Tonight. Oh.
The talks are smart and your pods have heart. Deep in the heart of Podfest. There we go. I did it.
You'll fix it in post. No, you won't.
This podcast is part of the GagglePod Network. Find more podcasts like this at gagglepod.com.